This is the creepy story about Follow Me.
There was a 15-year-old girl named Chloe who has an Instagram account.
She loves to take photos of different things and post them on there.
Chloe wanted a lot of followers, so she always commented on other people's posts saying, "Follow me and I'll follow you." One day when she was looking for new followers, she came across a strange profile,
And the account was a man who took apart dolls.
As usual, Chloe left a comment saying, "Follow me and I'll follow you."
An hour later, the man left a comment on one of her photos saying that I'm following you.
Whenever she posted a photo, the man would always comment, "I'm following you." One night, Chloe's parents were not home,
Chloe then received a picture on Instagram.
and when she opened it, she noticed it was a picture of her sitting on her bed. She then heard a man's voice from behind her say, "I'm following you."
This is the scary story about the red birthmark. There was a 3-year-old boy who lived in a small village. He was born with the red birthmark on his forehead, and as soon as he was old enough to talk, he told his family that he lived before. He pointed to the birthmark on his forehead and said a man murdered him with an axe. His parents then took him to the village where he claimed he lived before. The boy said he remembered his old name, and it was the same name of the man who went missing from the village 4 years earlier. He then showed them the house where he lived. The boy remembered what the man who killed him looked like, and also his name. When he saw the man, he walked right up to him and said, "I used to be your neighbor. We had a fight and then you killed me with an axe." The man immediately turned white. Then the boy said, "I even know where he buried my body." They then followed the boy to a field, and they stopped in front of a pile of rocks. They all moved the rocks, and underneath there was a skeleton, with a wound on the skull, exactly where the boy's red birthmark is. After that, the man broke down and confessed to the murder. This is the scary story about the lost girl.
There was a little girl who lived in an apartment building.
One day, she told her mother that she was going to play with her friends.
But hours later, when her mom went to go get her for dinner, she was nowhere to be found.
The mother asked all the kids who lived in the apartment building if they saw her daughter.
But they said they hadn't seen her all day.
The mother then called the police to look for her daughter, but they found nothing.
After 3 months went by, people who lived in the apartment building
began to complain about the water's taste and smell.
The janitor then went up to the roof and checked the water tanks.
And to his horror,
he found the dead body of the lost girl floating in the water tank. And for 3 whole months, everybody who lived in the apartment building
was drinking the water that the dead girl's decomposing body
was floating in.
This is the scary story about the headache.
There was a 10-year-old girl with braids.
The girl has been wearing her braids in a ponytail for the longest time.
And they were very old, at least 2 to 3 months old. The girl had been complaining to her mother about having a headache for the past 2 weeks.
Her mother brushed it off, assuming that the girl just bumped her head or something.
One morning while the girl was getting ready for school,
she again began to complain about the headache to her mother. Again, her mother brushed it off and sent her to school.
At school, the girl told the teacher that her head was hurting.
The teacher assumed that the braids were too tight in the girl's hair, and she attempted to let the ponytail down. When she let the braids loose,
the teacher saw a spider in the girl's hair.
The spider had laid eggs in the girl's hair,
and the spiders were eating her scalp. The girl was then rushed to the hospital,
where she later died. This is the scary story about the 2 spoons.
There was a kid named Kyle who loved to watch weird and disturbing videos on the internet.
He watched every single one and thought he had seen them all,
until he came across a video titled "One Guy, 2 Spoons."
When he pressed play on the video, it started out completely normal,
until the man in the video pops out both of his eyeballs using the 2 spoons.
Kyle was very disturbed and freaked out, but he couldn't stop watching the video.
Kyle then heard his mom call him downstairs for dinner.
When Kyle got to the dinner table, he heard his dad saying
that there is a new viral video going around on the internet, and apparently whoever watches it goes insane and try to pop out their own eyeballs.
When Kyle's father and mother looked at him, they screamed in horror, but it was too late.
Kyle's eyeballs were on the table, and he couldn't see a thing.
This is the scary story about the sleepover.
One summer night, 2 friends were having a sleepover.
The one kid's parents were out for the night, and were gonna be home late.
They were playing video games all night.
But around 1 a.m., they started to hear a faint knocking on the door. The 2 friends thought nothing of it, and then they went to go open the door.
But when they opened the door, nobody was there.
They were a little worried and confused, but they went back to playing video games anyway. When all of a sudden, They heard banging coming from all the windows and the doors.
The two friends were completely frightened.
They both built up enough courage to go look out the window and see who was banging, and what they saw was horrifying.
They saw multiple men
With very scary demonic faces.
The two friends immediately ran away up the stairs,
But halfway up,
they saw one of the men standing at the top.
and when they tried to go back down, the rest of the men were at the bottom waiting.
When the parents came home that night,
They were petrified when they saw the two boys' heads laying at the bottom of the staircase, with their bodies nowhere to be found. This is the scary story about the accident.
there was a man named Nicholas Miller who was 32 years old. One day, he decided to go for a walk because it was so nice outside. As he was walking down the sidewalk enjoying himself, Nicholas decided to go get some food. He then had to cross the street to get to the store. So he started running across the street. But Nicholas did not see a car coming, and the car then hit him, sending him airborne. Everything then went black for Nicholas. When Nicholas woke up, he was in a hospital room with technology that he never saw before. He then looked at his arms and hands and noticed that they were completely wrinkled and aged. Suddenly, a doctor came into the room looking very surprised. The doctor then said to Nicholas, "Sir, it's a miracle that you woke up. You've been in a coma for 42 years. Nicholas's stomach then dropped as he realized that he missed out on his entire life and was now a 74-year-old old man.
This is the scary story about the first words.
There was a mother who hated her daughter, and one day when her daughter was sleeping, she went into her room and stabbed her over and over again and killed her. Nobody ever found out, and she got away with it. The mother then gave birth to another girl. She was so happy that she had another daughter, and she already liked this one way more. A year later, the mother and her new daughter were watching TV, when suddenly her daughter sounded like she was about to say her first words. The mother got all excited and was waiting for what her daughter was going to say. But when the words came out of her daughter's mouth, she froze in horror. Her daughter said, "Mom, why did you kill me? I loved you."
This is the scary story about Help Me.
One night, a teenage girl named Kathy was babysitting two kids. There was a 7-year-old boy named Taylor and a 6-year-old girl named Selena. Just after 9 o'clock, the phone rang. Kathy answered it and heard a very scared voice screaming, "Help me, for heaven's sake, help me." Kathy thought it was a joke, so she immediately hung up. But about 30 minutes later, she received another call, and it was the same voice saying, "Help me, for heaven's sake, help me." Then Kathy heard a knock on the door. She grabbed both the kids and held them tightly in her arms. She then heard a man's voice saying over and over again, "Help me, help me." She didn't know what to do, but Kathy decided to let him in to help him. Later that night, when the parents arrived home, they found Kathy and both their children dead, with all their legs and arms and head cut off.
This is the scary story about the new parents.
There was a kid named Michael who was coming downstairs for breakfast. When he sat down at the table to eat, his mom and dad both looked at him and said good morning. Michael said good morning back, and they both continued to talk to him. Michael then noticed that something was off. He noticed that his parents were never this nice, especially in the morning. Michael then asked his mom and dad if they were okay, and they both looked at him with a smile on their face and said, "Yes, honey, we never been better." Michael then finished breakfast and went back upstairs. But as he was walking back to his room, he noticed that one of the hallway doors was cracked open a little bit. Michael then went over to close it when he smelled something terrible. He then opened the door, and what he saw made his stomach drop. Inside were his mom and dad's dead bodies.
This is the scary story about the stair.
A girl was on a subway late one night when she noticed a woman sitting across from her staring at her. The woman was sitting between two old men. The girl kept looking away, but the woman never stopped looking at her. At the next stop, a tall man in a trench coat got on the subway. The woman paid no attention to the man in the trench coat and continued to stare at the girl. The man in the trench coat then sat down next to the girl, and as the subway continued, the woman never stopped staring at the girl, and the two men that she was sitting in between never glanced in her direction. When the train pulled up to the next stop, the man in the trench coat got up to leave, but suddenly he grabbed the girl's arm and yanked her off the subway. The subway's doors closed,
and the train pulled off. The girl was confused and began screaming for help.
But the man in the trench coat said, "Calm down.
I just saved your life. I didn't mean to scare you, but I had to get you off that train."
The woman who was staring at you is dead, and the two men beside her were holding up her body.
This is the scary story about Mom's meat.
One day, a girl named Kate was in the cafeteria at school
When she saw a girl sitting by herself, Kate then went over to her and began talking to her.
Kate noticed that the girl was eating some sort of meat and asked for a piece of it.
The girl then gave her a piece and Kate ate it, and she thought it was amazing. She then asked the girl where did she get the meat, and the girl said that her mom makes it every day.
Later after school, the girl asked Kate to come over her house.
Kate agreed and she went over. But when she walked in the house, she smelled a terrible smell, but she ignored it.
She then asked the girl if she could have more of that tasty meat.
The girl said of course and went to open her fridge.
When she opened the refrigerator door, Kate saw a dead woman's body,
which was half eaten.
The girl then turned and said to Kate, "I forgot